Alex adjusted his tie nervously, staring out of the tall glass windows of the Crystal Spire Hall. The city of Nova Elysium shimmered under the twin suns, its towers gleaming like polished crystals. It was Mira's wedding day, and Alex could hardly believe he was standing here, on a planet so far from Earth, among beings he had only ever read about in books. Alien diplomats, researchers, and explorers mingled with humans. Their appearances and customs fascinating, but sometimes intimidating. He took a deep breath. The hall itself was breathtaking. Holographic lights floated in arcs above the dancers, casting soft glows across the polished floor. Music, a curious mix of human instruments and alien harmonics, floated through the air. Every so often, a holographic projection of fireworks would erupt above the crowd, making the guests gasp and cheer. Humans were rare in this sector, and the presence of even a few of them drew quiet attention. Alex shifted nervously, feeling out of place. Mira, radiant in her elegant wedding gown, was dancing with her new husband, Kale, a diplomat from the Saran sector. Kale's pale blue skin and elongated features were striking, but he had a kind smile, and Mira looked genuinely happy. Alex smiled at them, raising his glass in a silent toast, before stepping back to observe the crowd. That's when he saw Leora, Mira's mother. She moved with grace and confidence that made her stand out, even among alien dignitaries and diplomats. Her dark hair gleamed under the lights, and her eyes had a sharp, knowing look. Alex had known her for years. Of course, Mira had always spoken about her mother's adventures on Earth, but seeing her here, so poised and commanding, made his stomach tighten. Before he could think, Leora was walking toward him. "Alex," she said, her voice soft but firm. "Would you care to dance?" Alex blinked. He wasn't expecting this. Me? With you?" he stammered, feeling his face heat up. Leora smiled, a small, knowing smile. "Yes. Come on. It will be fun." He hesitated only a moment before letting her guide him onto the dance floor. The music shifted to a slower rhythm, soft and melodic. As they began to move, Alex realized something strange. Dancing with Leora felt different. Her movements were precise yet fluid, almost like she was predicting his every step. There was an elegance in her motion that made it feel like the two of them were moving as one, even though he had never danced with her before. Then she leaned closer. So close that he could feel the warmth of her presence. Her voice was a whisper, soft enough that only he could hear it. "Don't let go just yet," she said. Alex froze for a moment. His mind raced. Don't let go of what? The dance? But there was something in her tone that made him pause. It wasn't just about the dance. It felt like a warning, or maybe a message. Before he could respond, the music shifted again, and Leora guided him to spin, letting the rhythm carry them across the floor. Around them, the wedding continued in full swing. Guests laughed, clinked glasses, and celebrated. Holographic displays painted the room with bursts of color. Aliens of all shapes and sizes mingled with humans. Some had shimmering scales, others wore elaborate robes that seemed to float in midair. Alex, for a moment, forgot his nervousness. There was a strange sense of pride in being human here, small, fragile, and unassuming, yet capable of holding their own in a galaxy of giants. He glanced at Leora. She didn't speak again, but her eyes were alert, scanning the crowd. It was almost as if she could see things others couldn't, subtle gestures, glances that meant danger, patterns in the way people moved. Alex had always admired her strength, but this was different. The dance ended with a flourish, and Leora gave him a small nod of approval before stepping away. "Stay close," she whispered, as she moved back toward her seat. Alex didn't know what she meant, but he felt a strange thrill, a mix of excitement and unease. As he watched her, a voice called out, "Alex, come. The food is being served." Mira waved at him from a table. crowded with guests. The spread was incredible. Dishes from multiple worlds, each one more exotic than the last. Alex joined Mira and KL, chatting politely, but his mind kept drifting back to Leora's words. After dinner, the festivities continued with speeches and performances. An alien musician with 6 arms played a stringed instrument, producing a sound that seemed to resonate deep in Alex's chest. Holographic dancers spun around the hall, creating shapes and patterns that would have been impossible on Earth. Despite the distractions, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. There was an underlying tension in the room, subtle but present. A few of the guests, alien diplomats in particular, kept glancing toward the human tables with sharp, assessing eyes. Alex felt the weight of their attention. Humans were rare here, and apparently unpredictable. He remembered Leora's whisper. "Don't let go just yet." It came back to him now, in this crowded hall full of strangers and alien technology. He realized she hadn't been warning him about a dance. She had been preparing him for something that humans had always been uniquely good at: noticing things, thinking creatively, acting when others hesitated. A sudden cheer broke his thoughts. Mira and Kale had taken the floor again, this time for a traditional saran dance. Their movements were precise, almost mechanical, and Alex couldn't help but feel a sense of admiration but also relief that he wasn't expected to follow. He looked around, noting small details that others might have missed. A server whose movements were slightly too deliberate. A group of guests whispering while casting quick glances toward the human tables. Humans might be physically weaker, he realized. But there was a kind of strength here that others underestimated. Resilience, curiosity, the ability to adapt and improvise. It was the same strength he saw in Leora when she danced. As the night wore on, the music became livelier, and the guests began to join in group dances. Alex stayed near the edge of the floor, observing, noting patterns, and occasionally exchanging smiles with humans he knew. But he never stopped glancing toward Leora. Finally, near the end of the evening, she approached him again. This time, she didn't ask him to dance. Instead, she placed a hand briefly on his shoulder and said softly, "Stay alert. Not everything is as it seems tonight." Before Alex could respond, she was gone, moving with the grace and purpose of someone who had seen more than anyone else in the room. Alex stood there, staring after her. The night was beautiful, the stars shining outside the windows of the hall. But he felt something shift inside him, a sense that humans were small, fragile, and underestimated, yet capable of amazing things when the situation demanded it. The celebration was far from over, but Alex had already realized that tonight, amid the music, the lights, and the laughter, he was stepping into something larger than himself. Something that might one day show the galaxy why humans, though rare and seemingly ordinary, were not to be underestimated. And as he watched Mira laugh with her new husband, he thought again of Leora's whisper, "Don't let go just yet." It was more than advice about a dance. It was a promise, a warning, a call to be ready. And Alex, despite the nerves and the strangeness of the alien world, felt ready. The morning after the wedding, Alex woke to the soft glow of Nova Elysium's twin suns, spilling through the window of his guest quarters. The city outside looked calm, serene even, but he knew better. Last night's celebration had been spectacular, yet beneath the music, laughter, and sparkling lights, something had felt off. He dressed quickly, his mind racing. Leora's words repeated themselves in his head. Don't let go just yet. It was no longer just advice about a dance. He had begun to suspect that it was a warning. Alex left the hotel and wandered through the city streets, blending with humans and aliens alike. The air was filled with the strange scent of alien flora, metallic undertones from hovercraft traffic, and the distant hum of machinery. Despite the beauty, Alex couldn't shake the unease growing inside him. Humans were rare here, and his intuition told him that someone or something was watching. He stopped near a quiet plaza, where small fountains glimmered under the sunlight. And that's when he saw her again. Leora. She wasn't dressed in the formal elegance of last night. Instead, she wore practical clothing and carried herself like someone used to moving quietly and deliberately. "Alex," she greeted, her voice calm but firm. "I see you remembered my warning. I think I understand a little more now." Alex replied cautiously. "Why did you whisper that to me?" Leora studied him carefully, as if judging whether he could handle the truth. Then, with a decisive nod, she gestured for him to follow. "Then it's time you learned the secret I promised Mira I would never reveal at a wedding. Humans. We are not ordinary here. Unforgettable." Alex blinked, unsure how to respond. Leora led him through a series of quiet streets until they reached a modest building tucked between towering alien skyscrapers. Inside, the walls were lined with holographic star maps, shelves of ancient books, and human technology from across the galaxy. "This," Leora said, motioning to the room, "is the Human Initiative Archive. It's where we keep records of humanity's greatest achievements in space exploration, diplomacy, and defense. Many of these aliens," she paused, glancing toward the city windows as if aware of unseen eyes, "do not understand humans. They see us as fragile, weak, unpredictable, and that makes them nervous." Alex felt a chill run down his spine. "Nervous? About humans?" Leora nodded. "Yes. We've charted new star systems, negotiated alliances, and survived situations that others would have called impossible. Humans are underestimated everywhere we go. And that's why we have enemies, even among supposed allies." She walked over to a holographic table and touched it lightly. A star system appeared, rotating slowly, highlighted with red markers. These are the regions where alien factions have tried to control human expansion. Some are hostile, some are curious, and some, she said quietly, are watching tonight's wedding very closely. Alex's heart began to race. He thought back to the subtle glances from alien guests last night, the whispers he hadn't noticed at first, the way some of them had moved in patterns that suggested observation. "Why me?" he asked. "Why did you whisper that to me?" "Because," Leora replied, her eyes steady. "Humans have a way of noticing what others miss. You saw the subtle shifts in the room, the tension beneath the celebration. Most aliens would have danced, laughed, and ignored it. But you didn't. That instinct, that awareness is why humans survive, why we thrive, and why we are feared." Alex swallowed hard. The weight of her words pressed down on him. All his life, humans had been considered weak, fragile, and ordinary. But here, in the galaxy's edge, he was beginning to understand something profound. Human strength was not in muscle or technology, but in adaptability, creativity, and courage. "Leora, what should I do?" he asked. She smiled faintly, a mixture of pride and caution. "Tonight, you observe, you learn. And when the time comes, you act. You don't panic. You don't fight blindly. You think, you improvise, and you survive. That is human strength." For the rest of the day, Alex stayed with Leora at the archive, studying alien social structures, star maps, and the intricacies of human-alien diplomacy. He learned about past missions where humans had turned impossible situations into victories not through brute force, but through strategy, ingenuity, and moral courage. Hours passed, and by evening, he felt a strange mixture of excitement and fear. He had always thought of himself as ordinary, but Leora's lessons opened a door in his mind. Humans were small, but they were unpredictable and resilient in ways the galaxy had yet to fully understand. As the sun set, Leora spoke again. "You will attend the after-wedding reception tonight. There will be more guests, more distractions, and perhaps a test. Humans are often underestimated in celebrations like this. That is exactly when our enemies strike. Alex swallowed nervously. Enemies? At a wedding? Not openly, Leora said. But there are those who watch, those who probe. Your job is to notice, to understand, and to be ready. Humans can do what others cannot. That is why we are special. By the time Alex returned to the hotel, he had a new awareness. The halls that had seemed festive and harmless the night before now felt like a theater where every guest played a part. Every glance, every whisper, and every movement could carry meaning. Humans might be physically weaker than many alien species, but they were the masters of observation, improvisation, and unexpected solutions. The evening reception began with light music and conversation. Aliens approached humans with polite curiosity, some clearly trying to measure their intelligence, resilience, and adaptability. Alex moved carefully, keeping his observations quiet but precise. He noted subtle patterns, which diplomats lingered near the human tables, which guests exchanged brief signals, and which seemed almost nervous in the presence of humans. It wasn't long before he spotted something strange. A group of Siran diplomats, who had appeared friendly and polite at the wedding, were now clustered in a corner, whispering while occasionally glancing toward the human tables. Their behavior was deliberate, precise, and slightly tense, like predators testing a new environment. Alex's mind raced. He remembered Leora's words: observe, understand, be ready. Humans thrived in situations like this, where subtlety and quick thinking could make all the difference. Leora appeared beside him quietly, as if she had sensed his realization. Exactly, she said softly. Notice. Humans survive because we see what others cannot. They assume weakness, and that is where we gain our advantage. Suddenly, a commotion erupted at the far end of the hall. A holographic display malfunctioned, projecting a sharp beam of light across the room. Guests gasped and scrambled. Alex acted instantly, guiding a small group of humans and aliens out of harm's way. The movement was instinctive, precise, and effective. As the situation calmed, Leora placed a hand on his shoulder. See? Human instincts, she said, a glint of pride in her eyes. You didn't panic. You observed, acted, and saved others. That is why humans are feared and respected. Alex felt a surge of confidence. He had always believed humans were ordinary, fragile, and limited. But here, in the complex social web of alien diplomacy and subtle danger, he began to understand the truth. Humans were underestimated. Yes, but that very underestimation was their greatest strength. The night ended with a quiet celebration, the threat seemingly neutralized. But Alex knew this was only the beginning. Somewhere in the crowd, watchers remained. Observers who would test humans in ways no alien could predict. And he was ready. As he looked toward Leora, he remembered her whisper from the dance. Don't let go just yet. It wasn't about fear. It was about resilience, awareness, and the quiet, powerful strength of humans in a galaxy that often overlooked them. And Alex, standing amid the stars, laughter, and lights, finally understood. Humans were rare, small, and underestimated, but they were also extraordinary. The night after the wedding reception was quiet, almost eerily so. Alex couldn't sleep. His thoughts kept returning to Leora's warning. Don't let go just yet. He had begun to understand what she meant. Humans were small, underestimated, and fragile, or so the galaxy thought. But their strength wasn't in brute force. It was in adaptability, creativity, and the courage to act when others hesitated. He got out of bed and walked to the balcony, staring at the twin suns dipping below the horizon. The city of Nova Elysium gleamed below him. Alien towers shimmered, casting long reflections across the water canals that ran through the city. Everything looked peaceful, but Alex sensed the tension in the air. Something was coming. His intuition was correct. A sudden alert pinged on his comm device. Leora's voice came through, calm but firm. "Alex, get to the archive immediately. I have spotted a potential threat. It is subtle, but it's here." Alex moved quickly, slipping through quiet streets, blending with humans and aliens alike. The city's lights shimmered on the metal surfaces of alien buildings, creating illusions of movement in the shadows. He felt every step, every sound, every whisper in the night. Humans were trained to notice the unexpected, and now it was being tested. He reached the archive, where Leora was already waiting. The room was dimly lit, the holographic star maps spinning slowly. She gestured to a cluster of data points projected in the air. "These readings," she explained, "indicate movement from a faction that wishes to destabilize human-alien relations. They are monitoring tonight's celebrations. They seek to cause confusion, maybe even fear." Alex studied the holograms. Tiny indicators moved along, established paths, like predators circling their prey. Their pattern was deliberate, almost mechanical, yet subtle enough that only someone paying careful attention would notice. "They're here at the wedding?" Alex asked, his heart racing. "Yes," Leora replied, "among the guests, blending in. They won't act immediately, they are testing reactions. That is where humans excel. Noticing, improvising, and acting before anyone else." Alex felt a rush of adrenaline. He had always believed humans were ordinary, fragile beings. But Leora's words, combined with the lessons from the wedding, filled him with a sense of purpose. For more, in the final, humans could act where others hesitated. Humans could turn chaos into advantage. They made their way back to the wedding hall, moving quietly through side corridors. Leora's presence beside him was reassuring. She had a presence that commanded respect not through strength, but through intelligence, calmness, and precision. Alex felt a strange pride walking next to her. Humans were small, yes, but here, in the midst of alien powers and politics, they had power too. Back in the hall, the festivities were still in full swing. Guests laughed, danced, and celebrated, unaware of the unseen tension. Alex scanned the crowd carefully, noting subtle behaviors. A Saran diplomat constantly checking the exits, a group of aliens exchanging brief signals, and a server whose movements seemed too deliberate. Then, it happened. A sudden blackout hit the hall, plunging it into darkness. Panic spread like wildfire. Guests stumbled, some screamed, and alarms began to blare softly. Alex's instincts kicked in. Humans were not meant to panic, they were meant to think, adapt, and act. He grabbed the nearest group of humans and guided them to a safe corner, using his knowledge of the layout from earlier. "Stay calm," he instructed. "Follow me. And move quickly, but quietly." Leora appeared at his side, her movements precise. "Observe," she whispered. "Notice patterns. Find weaknesses." Alex followed her advice. He noticed that the blackout wasn't random. Lights near certain exits had been disabled, and subtle signals from the walls indicated attempts to manipulate the hall's holographic displays. The attackers weren't trying to harm immediately, they wanted confusion, fear, hesitation. "Humans," Leora said softly. "Don't wait. We create solutions." Alex scanned the room, looking for a way to regain control. He spotted the central holographic console, usually used for lighting and projections. If he could access it, he might restore some control. But the console was heavily encrypted, likely designed for alien diplomats. He didn't hesitate. Humans were not the strongest, but they were innovative. Using a combination of intuition and logic, Alex bypassed the security protocols, finding a simple override. Holographic lights flickered back on, guiding guests to safe areas. Panic began to subside. The attacker's plan was clever, but humans' ability to improvise was stronger. Alex and Leora moved through the hall, coordinating small groups of humans and aliens alike. They redirected the confused guests, prevented collisions, and neutralized the chaos. Finally, Alex confronted one of the disguised attackers. It was a Saran diplomat trying to escape unnoticed. Alex didn't attack. He used his wits. He blocked the exit, calmly explaining the situation. The diplomat, caught off guard by his confidence and presence of mind, hesitated. Alex held eye contact, then stepped aside but kept a steady watch. The message was clear. Humans would not be underestimated. Leora appeared beside him, nodding approvingly. "See?" she said quietly. "You didn't panic. You observed, acted, and protected. That is human strength." By the time the crisis was over, the attackers had retreated. The wedding guests were safe, largely unaware of the near catastrophe. Humans had acted where others might have faltered, and their ingenuity had turned potential disaster into order. Alex felt a deep sense of pride. He had always seen humans as ordinary, fragile, and underestimated. But tonight proved otherwise. Humans were small in number, yes, but unpredictable, resilient, and brilliant when the situation demanded it. The hall gradually returned to normal. Music resumed, lights flickered back to life, and laughter returned. But Alex's mind was sharp, aware of every movement, every whisper. He had tasted the thrill of observation, improvisation, and success in the face of unseen danger. Leora joined him near the balcony later, looking out at the city below. "Humans are rare in this sector," she said softly. "But what we lack in numbers, we make up for in strategy, creativity, and courage. Never forget that." Alex nodded. "I understand now. Humans aren't weak. We just have to be ready to show what we can do." Leora smiled faintly. "Exactly. And the galaxy is full of situations that will test us. Tonight was only the beginning. There will be more challenges, more threats, but humans will rise to them, because that is what we do." Alex stared at the stars above Nova Elysium. For the first time, he felt a deep, quiet confidence. Humans might be small, fragile, and underestimated, but they were extraordinary. And the universe had yet to see just how powerful that could be. As he turned back toward the hall, he noticed Mira laughing with her husband, KL, oblivious to the events that had just unfolded. But Alex didn't mind. The celebration would continue, and humanity had proven its worth in the shadows. And in that quiet moment, he remembered once more Leora's words from the dance, now fully clear in his mind. Don't let go just yet. It wasn't about fear. It was about readiness, courage, and human ingenuity, the quiet, unstoppable strength that would carry them through any challenge the galaxy could throw their way. And Alex knew one thing with certainty. Humans were just beginning to show the universe what they were capable of. The morning after the attempted sabotage, Nova Elysium seemed calm again. The twin suns bathed the city in warm light, and the crystal spire hall gleamed in the distance. From the balcony of his guest quarters, Alex could see the city alive with activity. Hovercrafts, gliding silently between towers, humans and aliens moving through the streets, merchants calling out their wares. Despite the peaceful morning, Alex felt alert. Last night had proved one thing. The galaxy underestimated humans at its own risk. But now, the threat had passed, or at least, temporarily. He dressed quickly and made his way to the archive, where Leora awaited. Her presence was calm, confident, and purposeful, as always. "Today," she said, We celebrate victory, but also understanding. You saw last night what humans can do when others falter. Now, it's time to look forward. Alex followed her into the heart of the archive. Holographic star maps rotated slowly above them, projecting constellations, unexplored systems, and human settlements on distant planets. Leora gestured to a particular system highlighted in blue. This region, she said, is one where human colonies are rare but growing. Humans have a way of thriving even in challenging environments. They innovate, they survive, and they inspire. Alex studied the map. Each settlement was marked with small details, resource levels, population growth, communication nodes. We really have made a difference, he whispered. Even here, in the middle of alien space. Leora nodded. Humans are underestimated because we are small, fragile, and rare. But that is exactly why we are effective. We adapt, we improvise, and we think where others act blindly. Alex felt a surge of pride. Humans were not the strongest, nor the most numerous, but their uniqueness gave them an edge that no alien power could easily predict. Later that day, the wedding's post-ceremony celebrations resumed. Music floated through the halls, laughter echoed, and the guests mingled again. But this time, the atmosphere was different. There was a quiet respect toward humans in the room, subtle but undeniable. The small group of human attendees now carried themselves with confidence, aware of the strength they possessed. Alex joined Mira and Kale near the main hall, smiling at the happiness surrounding them. Mira glanced at him and nodded. "Thank you for everything last night," she said softly. "I didn't even notice what was happening, but you kept everyone safe." Alex shook his head, smiling. "It's what humans do. We adapt. We protect. We survive." Mira laughed gently. "You make it sound so simple." "It's not simple," Alex admitted, "but it's who we are." Across the hall, Leora observed quietly, her eyes shining with pride. She had trained generations of humans to recognize their strength, and Alex had just proven that the lessons had taken root. As the reception continued, Alex noticed subtle changes in the behavior of the aliens around him. There was less condescension, more curiosity, and even a hint of caution. Humans, once considered fragile and ordinary, had shown their power not through fighting, but through strategy, awareness, and quick thinking. Later, Leora approached him again, gesturing for a quiet moment away from the crowd. They stepped out onto a balcony, overlooking the city. The sun reflected off the spires and canals, creating a tapestry of light and shadow. "You did well," Leora said simply. "Last night could have been disastrous, yet humans acted calmly, decisively, and effectively. You reminded everyone here why humans are unique in this galaxy." Alex felt a strange mix of humility and pride. "I just did what felt natural," he said. "I didn't panic. I observed and acted." "That is exactly what makes humans special," Leora replied. "We are underestimated because we seem fragile, because we are small in number. But we think differently. We adapt when others freeze. We solve problems that no one expects us to solve. That is our legacy." Alex looked out at the horizon. He thought of Earth, the blue planet he had left behind, and of the countless human settlements across the stars. Small, ordinary, fragile, yet extraordinary in ways the galaxy had yet to realize. Suddenly, a soft alert pinged on his comm device. Alex glanced down and saw a minor anomaly in one of the distant human colonies. He frowned, intrigued rather than alarmed. "Another challenge?" he muttered. Leora placed a hand on his shoulder. "Exactly. And humans will rise to meet it, just as they always do. This is only the beginning." Alex smiled, feeling the weight of her words. Humans were not just survivors, they were pioneers. Their strength lay in creativity, observation, courage, and the ability to act decisively when others hesitated. Every small colony, every human in alien space, carried that potential forward. The celebration continued, and Alex returned to the hall. He moved among the guests with calm awareness, observing subtle gestures, whispering conversations, and shifting patterns. Humans had proven their value last night, but this was only the beginning. Later, as the reception neared its end, Leora came forward once more. She gestured toward the stars above the city. "Alex, you remember what I said during the dance?" Alex nodded. "Don't let go just yet. This is what I meant," Leora explained. "Don't let go of your awareness, your courage, your human strength. The galaxy will challenge you, test you, and sometimes doubt you. But humans are special, Alex. Never forget that. And never stop showing the universe what we can do." Alex felt a deep sense of understanding. Leora's whisper had been more than words. It had been a call to action, a reminder of humanity's unique place in the galaxy. Humans were rare, underestimated, and small. But their ingenuity, resilience, and courage could change everything. He turned back toward the hall, seeing Mira and Kale dancing with joy, other humans mingling proudly among aliens, and even some of the guests who had once looked skeptical now observing humans with a quiet respect. Alex realized something profound. Humanity's strength wasn't measured in weapons or power, nor in numbers. It was measured in creativity, courage, and the will to act when others hesitated. Humans had survived, thrived, and innovated against impossible odds for centuries. And now, in the distant reaches of space, that legacy continued. As the sun dipped below the horizon and the twin moons rose over Nova Elysium, Alex felt a quiet confidence. Humans would face challenges, yes, but each challenge was an opportunity. An opportunity to show the galaxy that even the smallest, seemingly fragile beings could make a difference. And in that moment, he understood Leora's words fully. Don't let go, just yet. It was more than a warning. It was a promise. A promise that humanity's resilience, ingenuity, and courage would shine across the stars. A promise that humans, underestimated though they were, would continue to shape the future of the galaxy. Alex took a deep breath, smiling as he looked at the night sky. Humans were rare, small, and underestimated, but they were extraordinary, and the universe had yet to see the full power of what they could achieve. As he stepped back into the hall, joining the laughter, music, and celebration, Alex felt ready to face any challenge, ready to show humanity's strength, ready to continue the legacy that had begun long ago on Earth and now stretched across the stars. And with that, the celebration of the wedding became more than a celebration of love. It became a celebration of humanity itself, resilient, clever, and unstoppable, no matter the odds.